Then the muscle we are seeing is the vastus medialis and its nerve supply. And the other muscle we are seeing is adductor longus. And this muscle is adductor magnus. And that is the femoral artery. Then the femoral vein, the content, femoral vein, and that is the saphenous nerve, which is one of the contents of the adductor canal, and that is nerve to vastus medialis. Now, the competency that is covered is adductor canal and its contents. Another competency is anatomical basis of psoas abscess and femoral hernia. And another competency that is covered is importance of ossification of lower end of femur and upper end of tibia. So first we'll start with adductor canal. The important landmark for the proximal end of adductor canal is the formation of apex of femoral triangle. The apex of femoral triangle is formed by the intersection between the sartorius muscle and adductor longus muscle. At this place, the sartorius muscle crosses over adductor longus muscle. It has two openings. It is a musculoeponeurotic tunnel starting at the upper opening, that is apex of the femoral triangle, and ending at the lower opening, that is formed by adductor magnus hiatus. Then coming to boundaries of adductor canal, it has got a medial boundary and lateral boundary. So the vastus medialis muscle forms anterolateral boundary, whereas the adductor longus and adductor magnus muscles together form posteromedial boundary. And these two boundaries are roofed by a membrane joining the boundaries. Coming to contents of adductor canal, the main content is the femoral artery and femoral vein. Then there are two nerves, and the saphenous nerve is consistently found in adductor canal. In recent studies, it was observed that nerve to vastus medialis travels within its own fascial sheath separate from adductor canal. But we can say that the contents of the adductor canal are femoral artery, femoral vein, then saphenous nerve and nerve to vastus medialis. Then coming to applied anatomy of adductor canal, John Hunter ligated femoral artery in the adductor canal for the aneurysm of popliteal artery. The advantage of this method is the artery, if it is tied in the adductor canal, the site is healthy and will not tear when tied here. Whereas if a ligation is done in the popliteal fossa, there is a chance that it can tear. Then we go to anatomical basis of psoas abscess. First we see what is the psoas muscle. The psoas muscle and the iliacus muscle are in one compartment, and that compartment is extraperitoneal. Coming to origin of psoas major, it takes origin from lateral surface of T12 to L5 and also from the intervertebral discs in between them. Iliacus takes origin from iliac fossa. And there is also one more muscle, a minor muscle, that is psoas minor. It takes origin from lateral surface of T12 to L1 and also their intervertebral discs. Coming to insertion, the iliacus and psoas muscle together insert with a common tendon into lesser trochanter of femur, and the action of psoas muscle mainly the flexor of hip joint. Then what is the anatomical basis of psoas abscess? The psoas abscess muscle lies in proximity with many intra-abdominal organs like sigmoid colon, appendix, and renal vein, ureter. So, infection of any of these organs can spread to the iliopsoas muscle. That is one cause or basis for psoas abscess. Then second one is the iliopsoas muscle has rich blood supply. This rich blood supply again predisposes to the hematogenous spread of infection. Then the third is the nerve plexus, that is lumbar nerve plexus, pass through the psoas muscle. And the psoas abscess may involve the nerves and cause nerve weakness and sensory deficits. And it is said that the leading cause of psoas abscess is tuberculosis. Then we come to anatomical basis of femoral hernia. The opening from abdomen into thigh is at the gluteal fold. It is in the inguinal region. The opening from abdomen to thigh is in the inguinal region, because the anti-abdominal wall and posterior-abdominal wall come together at the inguinal region. And this space, there is a space between the inguinal ligament and the hip bone, and this space is divided into two. The lateral space is lacuna musculosa, through which the iliopsoas muscle passes into the thigh. And the medial space is named as lacuna vasculosa, through which the femoral vessels enter into the thigh. So, there is one posterior abdominal wall and anterior abdominal wall. When they come together in the inguinal region, and there is a space between inguinal ligament, that is in the picture you can see, there is one inguinal ligament that is running from pubic tubercle to anterior superior iliac spine, that is inguinal ligament, and another boundary of this space is the hip bone, and this space can be divided into two parts, that is lateral one is lacuna musculosa and the medial one is lacuna vasculosa. So in the musculosa, the content is the iliopsoas, and in the vasculosa, the content is the femoral vessels. Then we come to femoral sheath. The external iliac vessels run along the anterior surface of iliopsoas muscle. Then they course beneath the inguinal ligament to enter into lacuna vasculosa and become femoral vessels. In the picture, you can see that the space between the inguinal ligament and the hip bone is divided into two parts. Lateral one is lacuna maculosa and the medial one is lacuna vasculosa. And in the lacuna vasculosa, you can see the femoral vessels which have entered from abdomen. Continuing with the femoral sheath, when the external iliac vessels run into the lacuna vasculosa, they are covered that is transversalis fascia, will cover the vessels anteriorly, forming the anterior femoral sheath. And similarly, the iliacus muscle is covered by iliac fascia. So the iliac fascia is going to form the posterior layer of femoral sheath. So for the femoral sheath, there are two boundaries. In the picture you can see, anterior layer of the femoral sheath is formed by transversalis fascia. Posterior layer of the femoral sheath is formed by fascia iliaca. And this space, that is, the femoral sheath, is again divided into three compartments. So you can see the lateralmost compartment is occupied by the femoral artery. The intermediate compartment is occupied by the femoral vein, and the medial compartment is called as femoral canal, and this is empty. The sheath extends approximately 4 centimeters caudally, below the inguinal ligament, and it will end as adventitia over the femoral vessels. And the medial compartment of the femoral sheath is called as femoral canal. In the picture you can see the medial compartment is named as femoral canal. And this is less than 1 centimeter in diameter. The femoral canal is less than 1 centimeter in diameter and contains lymphatic vessels and glands. So you can see the femoral sheath in the figure. The upper part you can see that is the femoral sheath opening, and the medial compartment, the upper end is called as femoral ring. Then coming to femoral ring. The femoral ring has a rigid boundary. It is surrounded by lacunar ligament medially. In the picture it is shown the medial boundary is the lacunar ligament. Superiorly it is by inguinal ligament, and posteriorly or inferiorly it is by the pectineus muscle covered by fascia. And this, as we said, it is less than 1 centimeter in diameter. And this rigidity of the structures which are surrounding the femoral canal result in strangulation of the femoral hernias. And it is said that femoral ring is kind of a safety wall for the expansion of femoral vein in the upright posture. That is, when it is like a safety wall when large amount of blood is received. From the lower limbs. These femoral rings acts as a safety wall so that the blood can be accommodated there. Then anatomical basis of femoral hernia. One is, it is caused due to weakness of the transversalis fascia. That usually occurs because of the anterior abdominal weakness, anterior abdominal wall weakness. In conditions such as where intra-abdominal pressure increases, caused by constipation, bronchitis, pregnancy. So, this is considered the prime etiologic factor in multiparasoma. That is, weakness of anterior abdominal resulting in weakness of transversalis fascia. Elevated intra-abdominal pressure dilates femoral vein, which in turn stretches the femoral ring, resulting in hernia. Then coming to boundaries of femoral ring, as we already said, it is bounded by inguinal ligament superiorly, lacunar ligament medially, and the pectineal fascia posteriorly. And the rigid nature of this ring results in strangulation. Then coming to applied anatomy, femoral hernia is 4 to 5 times more common in female. That may be because of wider pelvis, and also because of the smaller nature of structures of different, that is, femoral artery also is small, and it is found to be right-sided in most of the presentations. Then we go to importance of ossification of lower end of femur and upper end of tibia. The lower end of femoral and upper end of tibia ossification center are used for estimating gestational age of fetuses in the third trimester, as these ossification centers appear after 31st week of gestation. The order of appearance of ossification centers are first the distal femoral and followed by proximal tibial. The importance. The size and appearance of these epiphyseal centers will be helpful to determine the gestational age and the viability of the fetus. It is helpful in normal as well as medico-legal cases. Sometimes calcium and mineral deficiency might lead to delay in the appearance of these epiphyseal centers. Thank you.